Hello and welcome to the 7th installment of 5 on It News. This is a daily video blog that is meant to take the most globally riveting and impacting stories and bring them to you in an easy to understand manner. My name is Edwin Leskin from Asheville, North Carolina. 7th installment feels like a milestone to me. I guess 10 would be an actual milestone, but things have been going really well. I've gotten a lot of great feedback and support. We get a lot of people looking at the videos, and it'll only go up from here. So I hope you're enjoying the bit, and I will keep it up. We'll keep on bringing you the interesting stuff. So for those of you who haven't watched, the way that the show normally works is that there's a quick mention at the beginning where I do quick mentions of a bunch of stories, and I talk about them. I try to limit maybe 1 to 2 minutes for each story, and then I do more major coverage at the end of if there's a really large story. Or I've also been doing some analytical pieces. So yesterday I talked about international relations geopolitical theory. You can check that out if you're interested in more of it. I think it was really, really cool. It might be kind of boring for some people, but I'm fascinated by this stuff. So, that's what we did yesterday. Today, unfortunately, there's not a really huge story that I want to cover. I mean, there's some big news, but none of it's in-depth enough for me to really, really want to cover it. I also don't have a really juicy kind of analytical bit. So instead, we're going to do something today, a new segment that's called My Little And basically, that segment is going to be, I'm going to pose a question or talk about something that kind of is on my mind that I'm pondering, and then I will talk about it and let you know about it. It was spurred from a conversation that I had earlier today. So without further ado, let's get into it. 7th installment of 5 on It News. Quick mentions. I'm going to comb through these stories out as quick as I can. We'll see how it goes. Okay, let's get right to it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is that 800,000 Obamacare enrollees were sent faulty tax forms. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. I thought that was a funny story. I hope it's not one of you. This isn't really big news. I don't normally cover this kind of stuff. I just thought it was funny. Of course, our executive office is getting slammed for this. At the same time, they're trying to set up something that they don't necessarily have the infrastructure for yet fully worked out, and it's pretty unprecedented. So I'm cutting them some slack. I just thought that was a funny one. Let's get on to some real news. So in the Ukraine, we've been talking about recently the conflict going on there in the town of Debaltseve, which is a railway hub. The rebels are in complete and total control of that town now. The town is in complete shambles as well. About 10,000 Ukrainian troops had to withdraw from the town. So this story also today kind of played into something happening where a Russian jet was flying near UK airspace and had to be escorted back to Russia by British jets. I just think it's an interesting kind of statement of, for Russia to be brazen as these rebels are being brazen on the town. I really hope we get some more insight into really what the kind of end game or end goal is for Putin in the way he's interacting with the world right now. So we'll see about that. I'm going to stay up on Russia and Ukraine. It's a very important conflict. So a couple days ago, I talked about ISIS, and I talked about how they were making money or kind of speculating on that. There was a very great article today. It was kind of the primary article on CNN. It's called How ISIS Makes and Takes Money. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this stuff, but I think it's really, really interesting. Great for you to know about. Of course, we want to know as much about ISIS because we're potentially going to, put troops on the ground. We want to understand this very complicated kind of organization or cult almost. If you go back 2 days ago, you can look at what ISIS's motives are, which are to trigger the apocalypse in a segment called Apocalypse Schmocalypse. So let's get into it. How does ISIS make money? Oil. They make about $1 million to $2 million a day from oil because they're in control of about 6 million citizens who need oil in Iraq and Syria. So that's an easy one. Ransoms from kidnappings. Also a pretty self-evident one. Just as a bit of reference, Al-Qaeda in 8 years made $120 million from ransoms. We don't know how much ISIS has made yet. Looting and stealing artifacts and antiques. This one is fascinating to me. It's the reason I'm going into this whole story more in depth, actually. So ISIS allows locals to dig ancient cultural sites and give them the wares as long as basically ISIS gets a cut of what the kind of financial value or the monetary value of these priceless artifacts is. Of course, it's completely depleting and destroying the cultural heritage of Syria, which ISIS definitely doesn't care about. But so they loot and stolen artifacts and antiquities. They also do taxes. It's kind of, extortion is what we would call it, but it's taxes, And so they also just steal. They just steal money. So they've broken into banks and stolen, they captured Mosul, which we'll talk about later, and stolen, I think $500 million. Potential organ harvesting and sale, dead civilians, harvest the organs. That would be kind of traditional black market stuff over in Asia. There's a tremendous amount of kind of illegal operations and stuff like that. So They also are in control of a massive amount of crops in Syria. I think that it's mostly wheat and cotton, and so that's very profitable. And then they've also been forming their separate economy. They want to have their own money and stuff like that. So that's just a little, insight into how ISIS makes its money. I thought it was very, very interesting. So we've been talking a good bit about Greece. Next story. Talking a good bit about Greece and how they were failing to reach a kind of financial deal with European countries, and that they were potentially trying to leave the Eurozone, even though they owe all this money. So they did reach a deal where they're going to stay in the Eurozone. They're going to have their loans that they have extended 4 months, give it 4 more months to figure things out. They're not going to run out of money next month and be booted out from the Eurozone. So we'll see how that goes. This plays into the next story, which is that stocks and the euro, or the stocks at an all-time high, kind of right after this accord, right after this deal with Greece. And the euro, of course, did very, very well because of it. The euro's kind of bouncing back up. So that's all good stuff, in my opinion. So next, I just want to talk about a very interesting little article that I believe I found on Fox News. And it's about the fact that Iran did some, and we talked a good bit about Iran yesterday if you want to check out more about Iran, and I was saying they should get more involved in the ISIS conflict. So Iran kind of backs the organization Hezbollah, which is over there by Israel, I think mostly in Palestine, that, is always in conflict with the Israeli government. I think that I'm getting this all right. No, that's Hamas. Is that Hamas? I'm going to have to look up what Hezbollah is more. We'll do a little debrief on Hezbollah soon. Anyway, so basically the Golan Heights are a contested area around Israel, and Iran has moved into Syria and done some small military campaigns. They did them last month, kind of a surprise offensive against Syrian rebels. And there's some potential speculation that they might want to move on Golan Heights and support Hezbollah in doing this. I'm not going to comment too much on that speculation. I just wanted to, following what we talked about with Iran yesterday, is they have done some offensives in Syria. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to stay up on that. I think that Iran's involvement in this conflict could be absolutely pivotal for how it plays out. Next thing I want to talk about is cybersecurity. We've been talking a good bit about cybersecurity because I think it's one of those things that definitely directly affects you, but you can't see it. And if you don't pay attention to it, then you just won't know about it. But I think it's important for you to know. It very much interests me as well. So the NSA and British spies apparently have bypassed for I think a couple years now. This came out in the Snowden leaks, Edward Snowden leaks, have been bypassing the standard procedures for what it might take to hack your phone, which would be they have to get like a little kind of, I think it's fairly cursory, but a little warrant to be able to hack your phone. Basically what it is, they hacked into the SIM card companies, and these SIM card companies distribute to AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, 450 wireless providers around the world. And if they hack right into the SIM cards, they bypass the need for the warrant and all that stuff, and they can just get everything. I mean, all the voice data, all of everything passes through your SIM card. All of the text data, all of the kind of history of what's going on, even the locations, I believe. So I think that's very, very interesting. I'm going to stay up on cybersecurity, and just the fact that the impetus is to completely bypass kind of the procedure that's been set up that's legal. This goes to show you once again, it's like, what are they doing? What is the goal here? Just to get all the data for what reason? For security, maybe? Who knows? I'll stay up on that stuff. Moving on, I want to talk about Boko Haram. We've been talking a good bit about Northern Africa, about Nigeria and their struggle against Boko Haram, which is an Islamic militant group, which has been causing so much strife there. We talked yesterday and over the past couple of days about Chad, Cameroon, and Niger all coming together to do a coordinated military offensive. Well, right after those announcements, or as those are going on and they're working it out, there were some major airstrikes, and apparently they were very effective. So Boko Haram has had to flee where they were. Of course, they created a tragedy by killing 21 civilians as they fled the town that they were having to evacuate from. But at the same time, I think that it's a positive note that offensives really are working against Boko Haram. They can't stand up to air strikes like that. And I think that it's a good indication that these nations can come together and kind of locally really begin to work on that problem. So I think that's wonderful. So the next thing, we've been talking a lot about Yemen, the Al-Houthi rebels, and that kind of shut down the government and imprisoned the president in his house. And they're a Shia Muslim group. And these various groups in the country, kind of the groups that want to go back to the government that was there a couple months ago, and a couple conflicting groups. Well, these groups are coming. And last week I think maybe episode 3 or 4 I was talking about. There was a report that Yemen citizens were like, we're on the brink of civil war. It's about to pop off here, really, really hard. Well, fortunately, these feuding parties, that have been battling for a good while now, are coming together to form a transitional council. And so I think that's very, very positive. This transitional council will be able to, make some governmental decisions of what's going on. and these bodies coming together will kind of make legislation moving forward for Yemen. So it's a very, very clear indication that Yemen does not want civil war. And I mean, of course, who wants civil war? I mean, no one really wants civil war. But at the same time, this was kind of the indication that this is what was going to go on. So I think this is a very, very, positive movement for Yemen. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about. I'm going to skip over that story. Let's go ahead and talk about just a very, very brief story, which is that it was on Fox News, and it was about the fact of kind of comparing Al-Qaeda's structure to what ISIS's structure is. So when we're talking about ISIS raising money, they seem to have a coordinated way of raising money, but we look at the way that Al-Qaeda has operated over the past 10, 15 years, and it's a very structured organization. When they bring in an offshoot, they, very directly integrate them and, kind of set out rules. It's a very well-funded, well-structured organization, or at least it was in its prime. So just kind of a comparison here to ISIS. ISIS is really not like that. If you're a terrorist organization and you want to join ISIS, they're like, yeah, for sure, start calling yourself ISIS, and let's get to killing. So I just think it's interesting as we kind of find out more about the impetus behind ISIS. We were talking about how they're trying to trigger the apocalypse. There's a very, very ideological background to what they're doing 2 days ago, and now we're talking about the fact that they really don't have a strong structure and organization, or at least one that we can't see. There's not really a clear-cut power pyramid. So I think that's very, very interesting. As they develop their finances, they might have to do more of that. So, we'll see more about the kind of fleshing out the background of ISIS. Of course, so much of the news has been about it, and I almost want to apologize. It seems to be all about ISIS. At the same time, this is the major conflict going on in the world, and we might go to war with these people. So it's good for you to form a strong analytical and historical understanding of the group so that you can be a well-informed global citizen. So kind of the last story that I'm going to cover today with my quick mention is the fact that it has been telegraphed by the United States and by Iraqi leaders that we are going to come together to try to retake Mosul in Iraq before Ramadan, which I believe is at the end of April. So 25,000 troops of Iraqi fighters supported by our intelligence, supported by our airstrikes, supported by our training, we're going to train them all, and supported by our surveillance, and potentially, there's been no decision yet whether we might have boots on the ground. We'll see if we do. That would be surprising to me and really, really intense. But 25,000 troops are going to go and try to take back Mosul. It's held by only 1,000 to 2,000 fighters, so we think. So this is going to happen very soon. I think this is an interesting story just because, everyone was shocked. It's like, okay, so you're just talking about this major offensive. And, the response from the Pentagon is just like, look, ISIS knows what's going on. They know that we have a plan to take back Mosul. And, they kind of have already known the time frame for it just because it's evident the way that I guess they've organized their forces around there. So, but this is an extraordinarily pivotal battle. And the reason I'm talking about it a little bit longer is that it is this would be the first really major, really intensive ground campaign to make a really big kind of headway against ISIS in Iraq. So I think that this is, potentially a positive movement. We'll stay up on this, but if we're all going to battle, I'm going to tell you about it. This is going to be a very interesting interplay. So those are the stories for today. I've been going back and doing very, very quick recaps of the stories when I'm done with my quick mentions so they can keep you in their mind. So I'm going to do that right now. First one, Obamacare. 800,000 people got incorrect tax forms. Whoops. Next one, a Russian jet was found near UK airspace. And also, Russian rebels have completely taken over this very contested town and pushed back the Ukrainian military. Then we talked about how ISIS makes money. That was oil, ransoms, looting of artifacts, agriculture, taxes, and organ harvesting, and then just straight up stealing. Then we talked about Greece. Hey, they figured out a way to extend their loan, and they're going to stay in the Eurozone. And then because of that, the stocks rose really high, and the Euro made some really good gains. Then we talked about the fact that Iran, its moves in Syria might indicate that they might want to support Hezbollah on an attack on Golan Heights. Then we talked about the NSA and British spies are bypassing the need to get a warrant to hack your phone, just going straight to the SIM card companies so they can get all the data that they want. Hungry hippos when it comes to that data. Then we talked about Boko Haram having to flee after some major airstrikes, I believe by the Nigerian Air Force, and just talked about how that means that there's potentially going to be some major gains when these countries come together to tackle Boko Haram. I think that's good. At the same time, they did create a tragedy as they left by killing 21 civilians. Then we talked about Yemen's feuding parties have come together to form this kind of provisional transitional government, and the country doesn't want to go into civil war. We talked a little bit about ISIS and its comparison to Al-Qaeda and the way that it organizes itself. And we finished off with the fact that we are training Iraqi troops, 25,000, to go and take back Mosul. in a pivotal major struggle. So those are the major stories for today. I'm going to check my time. Okay, cool. We got a little bit of time. And as I said, I don't have kind of a really juicy segment for the end here. Instead, I just want to leave you with a new segment that's called My Little And my little for today is this. I was talking to a new friend, this guy that I met outside of a coffee shop today after I was on a little business meeting. And we were talking, and he was talking about how he supported Hillary Clinton as a potential president, and he would probably vote for her next year. And then he talked about how he really didn't like Jeb Bush. And something popped into my mind there, and it's been around my mind for a while. For those of you who know me and have talked to me about this, and I brought it up to him, and it's the fact that I'm just gonna let's say that a Bush or a Clinton gets into the White House. Then let's go back a couple terms. So we go Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama. And then Bush or Clinton? Wait, that's too many Bush and Clintons. There's too many Bushes and there's too many Clintons. Democracy, it blows my mind. When you see the same people coming to power over and over and over again, is that a democracy? Or is that kind of a almost royal kind of, families and that are staying in power? I mean, this democracy is supposed to be more open to other people. It's not supposed to be this super tight knit group. These couple major families that are going on. So I guess my little for today is is it okay to have a Bush or a Clinton back in the White House? Is that really okay? Okay, well, that's the show for today. The 7th installment of 5 on It News. Things have been going well. I'm really enjoying this, and we're going to blow it up soon. You trust me. I'm going to need your help, but I'm a wizard when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I'm gonna blast it out there. You'll be there with me. We'll ride the wave all the way to more news. I hope you enjoyed the show for today, as I said, and please like, share, favorite, and subscribe. And if you have any commentary or any ideas, let me know about it. Like, I saw a friend today at the doctor's office, and she said, hey, I've been checking out 5 on It News, and that was really cool to me. So, but more feedback, letting me know what I can do better, what's more interesting, and stuff like that. Or if I get something wrong, so I can kind of post in the comments or do a little, thing in the next video. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Facebook link is down there in the description. Go ahead and go there, like it, share the video. But thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Edwin Leskin from Asheville, North Carolina, signing out on the 7th installment of 5 on It News. I hope you have a wonderful evening.